Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
You know me, Gaardsy, I love TV stations. I love Fox 9.
Of course.
But if you're a major metropolitan newspaper, you got to be on those stories, man. You can't leave it up to the TV stations to write about them before you do. Come on. That just makes no sense to me. Anyway, where would you like to start top 5?
Well, it's technically Chicago, or is it Cleveland, or can we just say it's Minnesota? Because I want to start with the Minnesota Twins.
Okay.
I tried to tell you Friday, speaking of TV, on Enough Said. Did the All-Star break come at the worst time for the Twins? It just halted the momentum. Well, Friday night,
took all the starch out of us.
We were back, right? Another magical victory. Everything looked great. We go to Chicago, get the first win of the series. Then they got outscored on Saturday and Sunday, 16-3. They dropped their first series in over a month.
They call it a newspaper, don't they? A news.
I don't think that's what they call it anymore.
They don't?
I don't know. Isn't there a new hip now with it?
Yeah, there probably is. Although there is still a written. I mean, you can still get a published newspaper. It's harder to get.
Eventually,
you were saying?
Yeah, eventually they come up from Des Moines. You can pick one up.
That's true.
You can go to the newsstand and grab one. The Twins dropped 2 of 3 in their return to the field to Ron Coomer's Chicago Cubs. Your guy Zebby, not great yesterday.
No.
10-1 was the final.
Did you see the base running disaster the Saturday game?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was watching it, and whoever it was hits it into the gap. Provis is going nuts. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to score a couple. And I went
Or they're going to have it worse. Bases loaded, nobody out, with the tying run coming to the plate, a guy who had already hit 2 home runs.
And I was working,
Clemens kid,
writing stuff down, doing different things for the week. And I looked back up, and there were 2 outs. And I said, what the hell happened? I just saw the first part of the play. I didn't see the completion where 2 guys overran bases. They got caught.
Lead runner guy gets
caught
around third, tries to go back to third, gets nailed with going back to third. And then I remember who the hitter was, ends up being nailed because he can't go so far because there's another base runner.
Right.
He's going back to first and gets nailed there. Double play. And now it's 2 out, 1 on.
Yeah.
And you no longer have the tying run coming to the plate.
Different scenario.
Yeah, very much so.
Different scenario. I did see that. I guess I saw part of it and just assumed that it was going to be good, and obviously it was not. So they lose 2 of 3. Their record is 49-51 now, but Buck is back. I read this morning the Shelty quotes said he ramped up his baseball activities in Chicago. Seems like he's going to return at some point for the Cleveland series. It's going to be tonight. Recovered from that right hip strain, he will be back on the field as the Twins go to Cleveland for a showdown series against the Guardians. It is a 5:40 puck drop in Cleveland, and Joe Ryan on the mound for the home team.
Until he's traded.
Still on the table, you think?
I don't know. Who's to say? I'm not exactly sure. God bless Lavelle.
I read it.
But I'm. Is it politically incorrect to say I'm already tired of Tom Pohlad? I'm tired of
out there.
But the same story has been written 9 times already that he's out there. And he's different, and he's learning on the fly, and he's trying to be as involved. This is the 9th time we've seen this story. It doesn't, so it might well be true, but it's not being advanced anyway. And I still get this feeling like there's supposed to be people celebrating in the streets because this Pohlad seems to be more accessible. Nobody cares about that. They're going to care when we see key decisions made and how they handle key decisions, presumably involving the general manager, who we don't hear from a lot, but assuming that you want him making the baseball decisions. But I've read variations of that story, like I said. Players before have said, I haven't seen anybody around like this. It's unbelievable. Okay, that's all been established. Where else in America does this even have to be a story? Where the owners, they're right there in the clubhouse and they're learning stuff, and it's such an obvious rehabilitation attempt. Let Let him rehabilitate himself, or the poll ads rehabilitate themselves by action. But you're higher on him than me, so.
I'm giving him more of a chance, yeah. But I'm also more naive than you.
Well, no. Well, he's obviously going to get a chance, but I've read this story. And at some point you go, well, why do we continue to write it other than boredom? Or we don't know what else to write. We're going to go ahead and write it again that he's out there more and what was the quote from, I'll find the quote during the break from Dave St. Peter, who's still, I think now is a consultant to the team. And I've read it all before. I just don't think the average fan cares. I think the average fan's going to say, let's see what you do. And yeah, I mean, I'll have at least enough of an open mind for that, but nothing's happened yet. What's happened yet, other than they've cut $65 million from the payroll over the last 2 off seasons?
First pitch in Cleveland about half an hour from now. Do you trust Pat Beverly? Do you trust Patrick Beverly as an insider?
No.
So when he tweeted out 10 hours ago, rumor has it Braun makes his decision today! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
From 10 hours ago today.
Eyeball emoji. Basically, first thing in the morning, Pat Bev woke up and tweeted, rumor has it Braun makes his decision today. Does that move you?
No. Because everybody, I mean, my guess is he took his best stab at it and then felt like, well, if I'm right, I'm going to be a genius. And if I'm wrong, nobody's going to notice because somebody else is going to predict something else tomorrow. Did he give any reason for why he knew this? Or
what he said is what I read. That's the beauty of Twitter. I don't know if in the replies he got going, but a lot of people obviously assume that once the World Cup is done, he can.
Yeah, this seemed to be the week.
Go ahead and steal all the attention back on him. Not like it hasn't been on him anyway. But we're going to talk to Jonny about all of that. Jonny did tweet out earlier this afternoon, the Wolves feel like they are a long shot at this point.
Oh, he did say that.
Jonny
I missed that tweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the Jonny walk-off of a little bit of a longer tweet, but said, the Wolves feel like they're a long shot. I'm paraphrasing.
They're the longest of shots.
Could be.
That's the truth.
Unless Anthony Edwards knows something.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. Like I said, I'd love to be wrong.
Later tonight, right here on The Fan, very late tonight, 9 o'clock Central. In fact,
maybe you get a condo at... does Lifetime have any condos, like fancy condos?
Not here yet.
At Southdale?
They'd like to. They have them all over the country,
okay, but not...
Some out west, some in Florida.
Right.
They're very nice. The Minnesota Lynx, 20-6, after a victory Saturday night, which I attended, where Olivia Miles...
I thought it was Saturday day. Didn't I see that game on TV?
No, that was Saturday night, 7 o'clock.
I must be hallucinating.
Wednesday was the day game when my kids came.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I got locked out while Tim Conley was on the air, which was not a good feeling.
Miles stay on the court?
She did.
Good.
Yeah, she played pretty well. They won that game, and now tonight take on the terrible, terrible Seattle Storm.
And we still have nothing on Collier.
Correct. She's just there.
Well...
I mean, she's practicing.
I was talking about conspiracy theories at the start of the year. This is what leads to conspiracy theories here, too. Like, she signed a one-year deal, right? That's it. When we were trying to get her to sign more long-term, does she want to be here?
It's fair.
I mean, at some point, it's
a fair question.
Is she so slow playing this? Or are they just being... Again, the fact that they've had such a good record certainly makes it easier to be conservative and probably smart to be conservative. But eventually, does anybody... If I asked you today, will the Timberwolves, will the Lynx win the WNBA title if Collier doesn't play? Would you say yes or no?
I think I'd still lean yes.
I go no. I again, and it's not a hard no, but it's a pretty close to a hard no.
I'm like a 51-49. Yeah.
And again, that when you get to the postseason, I just think that's going to be putting too much pressure on her, too much pressure on everybody else, quite frankly. Now
they have a lot of good players.
Here's what I'm worried about.
Does.
Is the season, what is it this year, 52?
I don't know.
And then I think we go to 54 next year. Whatever, we're past halfway, right?
I believe so.
In that range? Because part of it, too, is I don't want her to just be out there for 6 games. I want the rest of this roster. They've played a long time without her. And so I want them to have time to reacclimate and readjust to playing with her, right? Because that's going to be an adjustment. No one's going to say it's going to hurt the team. She's too good a player.
Correct.
And she gets to open spaces well. She gets herself open well, which should play perfectly into easier baskets for her with Miles on the court. But I want them to give themselves a chance to get used to playing with one another, to give the best shot at winning the title this year. Best
part of Saturday night's game was after they hoisted Sylvia Fowles' Hall of Fame banner and her number up there now. Waylon talked. She was great as always. Said we don't win the last 2 titles without her. When Cheryl Reeve gets the mic, she gives a great speech about the player and that era. And I think this is the final one. I think they've honored pretty much everybody they can from that team. And she talked about the defensive acumen that Sylvia Fowles had, Defensive Player of the Year 1 million times. And she couldn't help herself but take a cheap shot at the current Lynx group when she brought up that one. She's like, you see Waylon here, Simone's here, Brunson's here, obviously Sill's here. She goes, that group could have guarded better than the one that we had out on the floor.
Ooh.
She just could not help.
Wow.
Because they didn't guard very well. They're in I would say they're winning games, but they're in the mid-season lull.
Sloppy.
Even Miles a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell it was grating on them a little bit, but it was another nice victory.
They're 20-6 without the best player on the team. And the WNBA all you're gonna do is grouse.
I don't, but and I was talking with someone today, actually, because as we know, even the bad teams aren't bad because there's not that many teams. So every team has like 3 dudes.
No, that's
that
true.
Are total studs.
The depth is what's changed in the league.
Like New York is 500.
Yeah.
You talk about that group and who they have, and Stewart's kind of been in and out, all that. But it's the fact that they are 20-6 in a very deep league without their best player is, I think, scary.
Did Clark had that 45-point game?
Yeah, 10 assists too, I think.
And then they played the Liberty on national TV. They hosted them. Who ended up winning that game? I had to leave it. The Liberty was ahead for much of it that I saw.
Would that have been, when was that?
I thought that was over the weekend, or might have been Friday night?
Yeah, I can't go all the way back here yet. I gotta go. I gotta find it somewhere else.
Might have been Friday night.
Yeah, I think it was
She just had her 40, whatever it was 45 and 15.
Yeah.
It was a pretty remarkable performance on her part, but in any case, we'll find it.
Let me go back to Friday. Well, that's the Fever beating the Storm. Saturday, there it is. Fever crushed them, won by 20.
Fever won that game by 20?
Against the Liberty?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Because that was, Liberty was, so I did not watch any of the second half, so they took over.
They outscored them by 18 in the third quarter.
Is that right?
There you go.
That was the dominant quarter.
It was.
Interesting. So they're coming on a little bit, aren't they?
They're 16-10.
Yeah, so they're in the mix.
The fan at BigDeck.com, I'm going to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. The final keyword of the afternoon is green. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword green.
All right, we got Johnny coming up bottom of the hour, correct?
We intend to. He's agreed to it.
I misspoke. I thought we were over 50, 44-game season this year. But we're increasing it again, if I'm not mistaken. We'll look ahead, but I'm pretty sure we're going back up over 50 pretty soon. But we're apparently at 44 this year. Let's get a couple of other nuggets in, and then we will prepare for Johnny, see if he'll break the LeBron James story.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center. This report is sponsored by Staple.
Was I asking too much of the legendary Messi to be the adult in the adult room after the World Cup final, and instead of blubbering, looking off into space, realizing his career might be over, getting himself involved, having some awareness of what's happening around him, and saying to his teammates, stop. Enough with this nonsense. We are not going to get into post-match altercations after we lost. It's a bad look. We're all disappointed. We're all crushed. But just as we have accepted and enjoyed and basked in the adulation we have received over the course of this magical run, we got to deal with it a little better than we're dealing with. Is that too much? I think it would have been. You want to talk about cherry on top of his already legendary career?
Right.
Some attempt to in at least one of the altercations say, come on, guys. And he doesn't have to say it in English either. He can, but he doesn't have to. Or is that asking too much?
To me, I don't think it diminishes him. I don't think it should be his responsibility. I think it would only be upside for him if he did it. I was trying to think as you brought it up,
because it's supposed to be all everything.
I know, but could I see Steph Curry doing that if Draymond's going crazy? Or, when NBA players walk off the floor and don't shake hands, do those star players need to stop them in the tunnel and turn them around?
Than fighting, than active. Their own manager had his throat, his hand on the throat of one of the Spanish players after the final of the World Cup.
But does Steph Curry get into the middle of the fights? Would Michael Jordan have gotten into when Rodman kicked the camera guy? Was Jordan in there?
Well, no, I'm not sure that's a good analogy either, because this is more total. This involves the other players at the end, not a cameraman. Again, maybe I'm asking for too much. I just would have liked to seen some. It was almost like he didn't have any awareness anything else was going on around him. And again, I don't know what happened journalistically for Fox, because they either chose to ignore it or at least to lessen it. And I think that did everybody a disservice, because I'm watching it and I could tell. I saw, again, the Argentine manager, and it looked like he was but I thought maybe he was actually trying to tell his own team to calm down. It was never explained. They didn't show several of the other altercations.
Yeah.
That's not as good as the coverage has been. I thought that was not good coverage after the game.
The only one I saw, once it was over, I kind of peeled away quickly. But I did see the one argument between the two players that was pretty early right after. And then somebody else stepped in and tried to but then they moved off that pretty fast. They, I think, went back to Messi, who was standing there just staring
off. And I get it, because it's Messi.
Yeah.
And so this is it. This could be the last. We want to. There was a close up. He's got one tear going down one cheek and a tear going down the other cheek. It was very emotional. It was very a very poignant moment. But I'm thinking, I would have liked to have known that dogs and cats are living together. It's mass hysteria on the pitch, so to speak.
Speaking of the pitch, I'd like to see how many players are there? I don't even know. The all 20. Because it's a big pitch too. You could be on one side of the pitch and not know what to defend Messi. You could be on one side of the pitch and have no idea what's going on the other side of the pitch. You could be looking the wrong way on the pitch.
That's true.
It's a big pitch.
It is. It's enormous.
It's an $11 million pitch after they sold all the sod for $450.
Did you see the money the winners get to share?
No.
I think it's like $52 million.
I'd be crying too.
That's pretty good.
Even if I'm Messi.
He's a billionaire.
Yeah, but it all counts.
It all counts.
That's what Louis tells me.
Is that extra?
Yeah.
Extra 3 or 4 bill?
You saw all those stores at Southdale. He might want to pull through next time Miami's in town.
This is from Lavello Ball Guy. Who's more involved, Messi or Tom Pohlad? Messi or Tom Pohlad? Very well played there. In any case, we talked a lot of World Cup early. And I stand by my belief that Spain's defense is, oddly enough, almost underrated because of the havoc it wreaks or has through the tournament. On the other hand, I was disappointed in the quality of the game itself. And as good as that defense is by Spain, I'm not convinced that completely explains or absolves Argentina of any responsibility for a pretty putrid performance. Because that's what you're looking for, to put the cherry on top of this great event, because it's been great, almost from start to finish, was historic franchises, great history, the whole bit. And as I said earlier, they're different teams. Spain's a better team. But Argentina had the Stardust, and they had Messi. So they each have their strengths, and I wanted at various times to see both of those be revealed or exhibited.
Exactly.
And we unfortunately did not see that. And it was scary because, again, it seemed like the game was losable for Spain as much as it had dominated in every aspect goal, shots on goal, the whole bit across the board. But a further sign of how a great defense, name the sport, team or even individual, boxing. I mean, just go down the list. What not a good, but a great defense can do. And even if it's not as sexy or as explosive as endless scoring, I think there's poetry in it. I really do.
By the way, sources close to the situation tell me that the feed that we were all seeing,
that's what I've heard,
is a FIFA feed.
FIFA feed, yeah.
So,
but then you're still, if you're a play-by-play guy or color commentator guy, you're obligated because presumably you're not looking. You're looking out on the field, so you or the pitch. You should be able also to say, and we've got a couple of altercations. You may not be able to see it by the cameras because we can't control those. But there is some very unfortunate hostilities showing up here that should be beneath the competitors, right? There's got to be. You're painting a picture. That's part of the picture you have to paint, isn't it? Don't you think?
Unless they're thinking, why are we telling people about things that they can't see?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right.
I don't know.
Dan, were you around for South Lake Mall and River Oak Shopping Center? South Lake Mall for sure.
Where was that?
South Lake was what? But I don't even think it was a mall in the conventional sense. Wasn't that near Southtown? Wasn't there South Lake? Oh no, he's talking about the region. I'm sorry, he's actually talking about the Gary area. What's the mall? Or was it Southtown?
It was Southtown. Southtown was banging.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
That's what I thought he meant. He's talking about South Lake Mall and River Oak Shopping Center in
your hometown.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's talking about. He was born and raised in the region, apparently, Gary, Indiana area. Yes, I was not. I didn't spend a lot of time in South Lake because that was a little after my time. I am familiar with that.
They didn't have a sharper image.
There used to be a mall in Gary, Indiana, long gone called the Village.
Oh yeah,
but it was not an indoor mall. It was literally one of those. I mean, basically, you just go store. You walk along. It almost felt like a glorified strip mall. Basically, is what it was at the time. Now, I think just a parking lot at this point. I don't think there's any stores. If even if the parking lot is there.
Yeah.
It's not much. Yeah, you were a big Southtown guy, weren't you?
Loved it.
What was that? Well, there were theaters there for sure, weren't there?
Yeah,
I remember going to theaters.
There's a bowling alley there for a while. That might still be there. And for me, back in the day, it was Toys R Us.
Yeah.
There was a Toys R Us.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There was. I remember that. That's
Toys R Us. So that's back when.
That's what I remember.
Yes. And Southtown was a good option if you were, looking for something and they didn't have it at,
there weren't
Southdale.
A bunch of stores there.
But they had enough.
Yeah.
They had an Outback there.
Let's get to Jonny Athletic. Is the LeBron dream, I should say, dying, and other stuff with John Krasinski of The Athletic next.
Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barrett.
It's time for Jonny Athletic. Jonny Athletic. And he's on with Dan Barrero right now.
Yeah.
What?
Well, we're going to find out exactly where we are in the LeBron James sweepstakes, as if most of us don't already know exactly where we have been. Jonny Athletic joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Did you get effectively scooped by a guy you cover, Anthony Edwards?
Maybe a little bit, but I guess I don't feel as bad about that because, I mean, if anyone's going to scoop me, it's at least maybe someone who is directly talking to LeBron and like really involved in this process.
Yeah,
and so I look at that as maybe just more informing than if I'm competing against Ant, I'm going to lose every time. I'll say that.
Is it over?
So I think it is. Like, I would say this. I think that most people within the Wolves organization and certainly kind of following this story are more pessimistic today than they were a few weeks ago. I remember around the July 4th weekend, I was reporting that they were really heavily involved. And I can tell you at that point, there was a real belief like, hey, we don't know that we're in the first position here, but we feel like we've got a real shot at this. And as the days have gone on and as this thing has dragged out, I think that pessimism has grown, but I have had some conversations with people within the organization who basically are saying, look, we don't know, and no one really knows. If you watch some of the reporting out there and speculation, it does feel like a lot of people are just guessing right now. So is there a chance that they could still get him? Yes. Is it very, very small? Absolutely. If he comes out tonight or tomorrow or in a week and says, I'm coming to Minnesota, everyone will be very, very happy, but incredibly surprised if that does happen.
So when Conley was on with us last week, I had noted the quote I think you and I have talked about from Finchie suggesting that don't assume Jaden's going to spend major minutes at the 4, and I asked him to translate that for us. And the way Conley put it was, well, we may have some internal ideas that some people might think are out of left field. So translate that for us. I mean, is there a player? Yeah. Is that a play, or is it still, when we talk about the position, the roster that they're in terms from a roster standpoint, is it still possible that there's a player over in Europe or somebody they've identified that kind of intrigued them that they might still be in the mix, or are they just talking about, all right, we're going to play Terrence Shannon at the 4, something weird?
Yeah, I think that right now, as it stands, I've had a lot of fans asking me today about, hey, if LeBron goes somewhere else, what is their plan B? And I don't see many options outside of the team right now. I mean, could they sniff around Jonathan Kuminga? Maybe, but I think he wants too much money, and I don't think that's a real option. And anyone else that they would get who is either on the street or that they would make a trade for or something like that is going to be underwhelming. He's probably going to be more of a backup level player. And so I think that the more likely scenario is that they start the season, relatively speaking, as is, and then look to make a trade in January or so if the market presents itself and if it shows that they really need it. But to Tim Connolly's point to you, Dan, there is a little bit of outside-the-box thinking within the organization right now in that maybe it isn't necessarily Jaden sliding to the 4, and they go actually more undersized with Terrence Shannon Jr., with Jalen Clark, with Josh Green. They're all 6'6" or shorter, so it's not perfect. It's not ideal, but if you look around the league, San Antonio doesn't have a prototypical power forward, or didn't last year. They got Tobias Harris, but they didn't have one last year. Oklahoma City has Jalen Williams, but I mean, he's not a huge dude. He's a good sized guy, but so there is an avenue to go through with more undersized players there, and I think that you will hear Finch talk about it more when there's more clarity. But I believe that he would say maybe they just have to be flexible there, and maybe they have to go into on a nightly basis. Maybe one night you're playing Shannon there a lot. Maybe one night you're playing Clark there. Maybe one night you're playing Trey Lyles there even more, just depending on the matchups. And so I think that's what he means by outside the box, in that maybe it's not a set person, and maybe that's sort of a revolving door depending on what's going on a night in and night out basis.
Does the name Mario Hezonja mean anything to you? Hezonja, is that how you pronounce it? Okay. Does that name? I mean, he's apparently leaving Real Madrid for the NBA, but it doesn't seem any more specific than that. I don't know if he's another guy. Well, wherever he goes, he's going to get much more money than we have. I think he's more of not a power forward. He's more considered a wing, smaller forward. What about him? Could he fit?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely more of a 2-3 guy. Oh. I mean, he, years ago, I think he was the 5th overall pick. A long time ago, and really intriguing because he's super athletic and he's a really confident guy. But I mean, he bounced around the league a lot, got a bunch of chances, and just never stuck. Yeah. Maybe he has matured, or maybe his game has changed a little bit in Europe, and so he's more likely to make an impact. But for what the Timberwolves need, I think they already have a bunch of those guys. They have Bones, they have Io, they have LaMelo, they have Ant, they have Shannon, they have Clark. They have a lot of guys in that 2-3 range. He's not a 4, and so it would surprise me if that would be the avenue that they went down to try and address And if they did, Dan, he would be much more of a flyer, just like Trey Lyles is a flyer.
Yeah.
And you kind of, maybe you get something out of him, but certainly isn't one you would look at as a long-term option to be your starter on a team that goes deep into the playoffs.
Texter wants to know, 352 guy, what you thought of Isaiah Evans' summer league appearances. The stats, he says, were not very pretty.
Yeah, no, well, so there's a little context that needs to be added there in that because of the trade getting held up from, the LaMelo trade and all of the machinations of that, Isaiah Evans was caught up in that rigmarole. And so he was not able to practice or work out with the team at all going into Summer League. He also missed the first game of Summer League. And so he was really kind of flying by the seat of his pants out there on the court. When you watched it, he didn't make a shot hardly at all for the first couple of games. He started to hit a few as the Summer League went along, but really shot poorly. I don't really put a whole lot of stock in that. I actually liked the way that he played defense and the way that he moved his feet for a guy who is not known as a defensive guy. But I think that he's a guy that will start the season probably in Iowa and try and get some playing time down there. And we'll see where he comes out. But I don't think that looking at the summer performance is a fair assessment of who he is as a player. And he may not end up being much of a player, but if he isn't, it's because of other deficiencies and not really from what we saw in the Summer League. I just think that he never really had a chance to succeed in that environment.
This was the nugget that fascinates me today, and it goes beyond the Wolves, but it does speak to a larger issue regarding the salary cap, the current, the first apron, the second apron, luxury tax, etc. During this offseason, the Oklahoma City Thunder have reduced their payroll and luxury tax penalties by $306 million since the beginning of the offseason. Talk to me about that. You could argue it's a boring subject, but it really isn't. When I look at that number and I say, what does that tell us about where we are here?
Yeah, it's really important for fans to look at, and it's interesting that this is coming up because this is what I was trying to tell Timberwolves fans 2 years ago when they traded Karl Anthony Towns. And people were in an uproar about it. And the reason it happened was because of exactly what the Thunder are facing right now. The league's new collective bargaining agreement has such dramatic penalties for luxury tax spending and also penalties that prevent teams from making transactions when they are over that second apron threshold. And so it effectively works as a hard salary cap. And the whole system was designed to make the NBA more like the NFL in that talent is distributed around the league, and it's harder to stockpile that because as the talent gets older and more accomplished, they get big contracts. And that's what has happened with the Thunder this year. They are about ready to start paying Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren enormous amounts of money, max salary level amounts of money. And Lou Dort was making a good amount of money. Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins were really good players for them that were making smaller money. But the Thunder had to just jettison these guys because their spending was getting to a point where they were going to have to pay $300 million, or I think it was it was $500 million total for the payroll if they had kept the team intact. And by kicking these players out to other teams, they are now down around 250 or 40 million, something like that. And so they have shed $300 million because of those luxury tax penalties. And so what the Thunder have done really, really well is they've drafted very well. And so they have guys that can take the spots of a Lou Dort, of an Isaiah Joe, of an Aaron Wiggins, and they're in good shape that way. But it's exactly what the Wolves faced. It's exactly what the Celtics faced when they had to trade Jaylen Brown. Other teams, the Warriors, when they traded Klay Thompson, when they let Klay Thompson go, all of these teams are going to face this sooner or later, where they can only keep one or two really high-priced guys, and then you have to just keep revolving the roster around them, much like the NFL teams do with the quarterback position.
So does this essentially mean that as frustrating as these realities can be, if you are a good to very good team and you have to make these sorts of decisions, as the Wolves did a couple years ago, OKC is now, that the system, in a certain sense, is working, that it's forcing talent to be distributed other places, even perhaps when the team that had that talent in the first place did not want to do so?
100% it's working, Dan, because we have had 8 different champions in the last 8 years in the NBA. That's never happened before. As you and I both know, as card-carrying NBA, hoop heads coming up, from the 80s and 90s and into today, it used to be that this league was built around dynasties, was built around big markets, and was built around, like, you watch the Lakers, you watch the Celtics win a bunch in a row, you watch the Bulls, you watch the Pistons, you watch the Rockets, all these teams like go through the Spurs, and they become juggernauts for 4 to 5 years or more, the Warriors, and that is how you kind of absorbed the sport. And now it has been completely changed, where now it's so hard to repeat. The Knicks are even going to have a hard time repeating next year. They had to let Mitchell Robinson go. And so fans are having to kind of change the way that they process the league. And I think that the people who made this decision in the league offices are saying, we actually think that the old model was bad, because unless you were a Lakers fan or a Celtics fan or a Warriors fan or a Bulls fan, like there were fans in markets in Minnesota, in Milwaukee, in all sorts of different markets that they knew from Jump Street they had no chance for 5 years or more. And now it is, with the way that these players are being forced to be moved around the chessboard, there's a chance that in 1 or 2 or 3 years, if you get lucky, if you draft well, if you manage your cap space, you can acquire another player to vault you into contention much, much quicker. And so it's absolutely been incredibly effective. We'll see just how fans adjust to it and if they like it or if they don't like it.
Yeah, it's interesting because Dan Minnesota is listening to this conversation, and when we mentioned that OKC has basically saved upwards of $300 million, he wants to know, or he's assuming, that the Twins will soon attempt to hire away the OKC capologist.
That's pretty good.
And bring that individual to Minnesota, which is a pretty good line, a good cheap line, but very effective and makes both of us indeed chuckle. Another texter, though, has a question for you, and this is sort of along with what we were talking about earlier. Besides Rudy, who the hell's going to rebound on this team?
Yeah, that's an issue that I think that if you're looking at weaknesses in this roster right now or concerns, that's got to be at the top of the list. And I think that one answer to that is that LaMelo Ball is a very good rebounder. And so I do think that the plan will be for everyone to say, hey, this team has to be a gang rebounding team, much more than maybe your average team does with a big center and a big power forward that kind of just hoover the glass and control that end of it. You're going to need, just by numbers, Ant's going to have to rebound more. Jaden's going to have to rebound more. But I think, LaMelo coming in as a guy who can get 5, 7, 8 rebounds, a night pretty regularly is going to be a help there. But I think that we may actually see this kind of shift again to where Rudy is maybe averaging or has to average 12 or 13 boards a game and lead the league in rebounding versus sharing that wealth with Julius, with Kat, with Nas, with a lot of the other guys in the front court. So they're going to have to figure out a way around that. Every team has weaknesses, and right now, as it stands, it looks like rebounding is the Timberwolves' biggest weakness.
Did you text? I know you talk and text with him more than I think a lot of people know. Did you text to congratulate Ricky Rubio on La Roja's outstanding performance, especially defensively, to wrap up the World Cup.
I did, yes. We swapped a few texts right after the game yesterday. He's very, very happy about it, obviously. He, as you know, as most Wolves fans know, he started out as a soccer player, played basketball, went and played soccer for a while, and then ultimately went back to basketball. But that whole country is, like most in Europe and outside of the U.S., just loves soccer to death. And so he was celebrating wildly with his family and with friends. And I will tell you this, Dan, remember, I think there was a tie with Cape Verde, right?
Yes, first match.
And so I sent a text to him like, "What are you guys doing?" And he was actually the one that said, "Calm down. Everything's going to be fine. This is the way we go. We're just easing our way into it, and we'll be there in the end." And lo and behold, Ricky Rubio was right the whole way through.
Most importantly, during the celebration in, I'm guessing, Barcelona, was he wearing his customary sombrero?
I don't think that the sombrero was there. Maybe not quite culturally the right piece in that moment. But hey, in the throes of victory,
yes, who cares?
Maybe anything could happen. Maybe he digs it out of the closet.
Yeah, that's true. That's a callback joke to way back when Ricky was here and he had his own cheering section and he had to remind them gently that the sombrero really didn't fit, that they all several of them like to wear. So that's kind of a different culture than the one I grew up in España, correct?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And of course, Ricky, doing it with a feather touch,
yes, exactly.
in that moment.
Yep.
And I do think people, when they heard it, generally felt bad about it when he was like, okay, you're right, Ricky. We'll figure some things out and change it up and maybe tone down the guacamole and the sombreros and try and kind of assimilate to the Spanish culture a little bit more.
So good. Let's get this out of the way too, and maybe this won't clear the deck on it, but I want to try because I don't think you and I have talked about it before. Almost every time the subject of what the Wolves are left to do, the name Kevin Love comes up. And I think it sounds cool, and we remember the name and everything, but you want to, throw fire on this? You want to extinguish it before it goes any further? What about the Kevin Love possibility?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have him back. It would be a really cool story. He and I have remained in good contact over the years, and we always enjoy seeing each other. But just at this age, he's 30. He's going to be 38 next year. People will look at sort of the per 36 numbers that he had with Utah, but he only played 37 games. He played 23 the year before. He played 55 the year before that. He's just not a guy that would be anything other than, if you need another Joe Ingles, if you need someone that just come in and be an adult in the room, great. Yes, I welcome that back. But if you are thinking that he would come in and shoot well and give you 25 minutes a night, that's just not where he's at anymore in his career. And so, anyone holding out hope for that, for anything other than a ceremonial kind of thing, I would say you're looking in the wrong spot.
Two last items. Jonny Athletic, kind enough to join us this afternoon. This is from Tyrese Halliburton. He was on the Pat McAfee show today. Here's the quote from Halliburton on the show. LeBron being my teammate isn't looking good. I texted him, hey, you should come be a Pacer. He responded with 6 laughing, crying faces. Not particularly encouraging sign, it appears, that he will take full advantage of playing in the best city in America, Indianapolis.
Yes, and so if you are a Timberwolves fan and you're looking for any sort of consolation prize should LeBron not come here, you can feel good that he did not laugh in Anthony Edwards' face when Ant reached out to him. Ant and LaMelo both talked to him last week, and it was not just a dismissal. The LeBron James camp has been engaged with the Wolves on several levels for the past month or more. And so they have gotten serious consideration. They have not just been summarily dismissed the way that LeBron did to the Pacers, again, just like the Wolves, LeBron and the Pacers would be a pretty good team. Tyrese Halliburton coming back.
That's for sure.
Siakam, Zubac, it makes a lot of sense, but LeBron just completely laughed Halliburton off. He has not done that with the Wolves, so maybe you can put that on the banner that they hang if he chooses Miami or Golden State or whoever else.
Last item for today. This is from Matt in Rosemount. He's disappointed. Here's what he writes. Johnny won't say it, but it feels like the Wolves have botched the roster. Just feels like they couldn't make the, quote, one more move, unquote, they needed to make, and now they are stuck. What would you say to Matt?
Yeah, I just don't get that logic, to be honest, because what more would you have them do, I guess? They didn't. Maybe they don't get LeBron on the minimum. They couldn't go out and trade for a major power forward. That was not available to them because of the salary cap constraints. And remember, the trades that they made, they brought in an all-star caliber point guard. Now, there is a risk, absolutely, with LaMelo Ball for health, maturity, all of those things. But you look at the way they came out of that Spurs series, and this was a team that I think had reached its ceiling, and something had to change, and they needed to add playmaking, ball handling to take some of that pressure off of Anthony Edwards. And they went out and got a 24-year-old who is excellent at all of those things when he is on the floor. And if you look at some of the metrics, LaMelo Ball is right up there with Nikola Jokic in terms of the impact that he has offensively for his teammates when he's on the floor. And so it's interesting now. Yes, they don't have in this day and age, you're not going to be able to just plug every single hole. The key is going to be, how do they adapt to the weaknesses? Every team has weaknesses that they have to address, and we'll see if the Wolves can overcome them. But I don't see them stuck at all. I think this is going to be a really exciting team, and I think they still will have avenues later on next season to explore other moves and give them other options. So right now, today, they might be stuck, but this thing is evolving, and they'll have many other opportunities to make more moves, as we get into January and February near the trade deadline.
Johnny, brought to you by, as always, RBC Wealth Management. Thank you for the time, sir. We'll be in touch later in the week.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Johnny. John Krasinski from The Athletic. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open at 646-86. I've got one A-section item that's sort of a callback to last week. That involves Donald J. Trump, as does one final World Cup update from yesterday that people have had some fun with during the celebration period while the backs of the Argentine players were turned. What was going up on the podium, on the dais, however you say it. We'll get to all of that and more in our final 30 minutes on a very special Monday edition of the program.
This is Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center, this report...
Today's broadcast. Still time to text us at 646-86. The president was there at the World Cup final. And afterwards, he helped during the medal ceremony, if I'm not mistaken. And then there was this, I think, fairly predictable, but semi-amusing song and dance in which the head of FIFA who's very tight with the president and very complimentary of the president.
Awarded him the prize, right?
Awarded him the Nobel
FIFA
Peace Prize. Actually, the FIFA Peace Prize, you're right. He's on, as you're facing the stage where the Spanish players are celebrating and about to take photos, they got the trophy, the whole bit. They're all kissing the cup, etc. FIFA guy's far to the left, and Donald J. Trump is far to the right, but he's not leaving. It's very clear that the Spaniards are waiting for him to go so they can take photos and video of them celebrating their victory.
Without the Peace Prize winner there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So FIFA guy, you can see him do a semi-sprint. His pace was probably just as fast as the guy we talked about on yesterday's show who just set the world record in the mile, breaking a record that stood for like 27 years. He sprints over, and then he tries to sort of usher the president away. He's still sort of eager to stay in it. Then finally, they move off together to the side, so that, and there's been a series of caption contests about what FIFA guy said to the president.
FIFA guy.
And one of them was something to the effect of, and FIFA president, I can't remember his name, is seen here explaining to President Trump that he is not a member of La Roja. So trying to get you out of the photo, which I was very entertained by. Of course, the debate that's broken out is whether he is the only president who is capable or would be capable of trying to ham it up and be in the middle of it. And my answer to that is he's not.
I agree with you.
I know the assumption.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Trump, it's got to be the only guy who would ever do that. Abe Lincoln would never do that.
Yeah.
You know, Dwight David Eisenhower would never do that. Well, they probably wouldn't have. But I'm guessing, I think Joe Biden might have done it, to be honest with you. I know
W would want to. He'd hang on the stage. He's a ball guy.
But there's a million reasons to criticize the president, and that the idea that he's the only one who'd be capable of this sort of egomaniacal behavior. I know it's convenient. I know it's what we want to hear, and he's there now. And it was awkward at best. But in fairness to the Spaniards, they tried hard. Like, they didn't shove him.
Right.
It was just like, we're going to just kind of, okay.
They're trying to be reverential.
Okay,
or respectful, I should say.
The other Trump story, which we spent some time on after his speech. What night was his speech? Was that Thursday night?
Thursday night.
Yeah,
yep.
So we talked about this extensively during Friday's show, the speech that did not come close to delivering what he pretended that it was going to deliver regarding elections and so forth and fraudulent elections, etc. The debate that broke out from a journalistic standpoint was the decision that I know CNN made, I think MSNBC made, and certainly the major networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. I don't think any of them took the president's speech live. CNN guy, I don't remember which one it was, said there was a very specific reason they were they determined to go the direction that they did. I mentioned it on Friday that it's a good subject above and beyond the content of the speech that's worth debate and discussion. I want to mention, or I want to play a short soundbite from a long time. He's got several talk shows, political commentator, reporter, etc. Michael Smerconish, who I think has a show on CNN part of the time, and he's got SiriusXM. He's all over the place. Let's hear what Smerconish had to say about the decision to not run the president live.
If it's newsworthy enough to rebut, it's newsworthy enough to air it first. Rebuttal alone treats the audience as lacking any filter. And I trust my audience to know better. After a decade of hearing from this president, I have more faith in the American people to make up their own minds. Now, some are going to say, well, that's the problem. That if only the country had been shielded from his mistruths, he'd never have been elected. But that theory has been tested for a decade in the most fact-checked media environment in history. And the voters, they've heard it all, the words and the rebuttals and the fact-checking, and they elected him twice.
Well,
Denying him 22 minutes in year 10, it's not prevention, it's condescension. Of course, unlike the television outlets, I've got an added advantage. When it's over and after I've had my say, I then get to open 12 telephone lines and let anybody who can get through say whatever they want without any fear of derision by me. And that's the best of all.
It's not prevention, it's condescension. I agree with him 100%. Because what CNN guy basically said was, well, he has distorted the truth on this so many times that we need time to fact check him, and so we're not just going to throw him out there again. And that leaves out exactly the point Smirkanish was making. And I think it's possible to be very critical of the president and what he said, as we were on Friday, and still believe that we're past the point where the decision to wait to run it or run portions of it after we've been able to put it through that filter, I honestly think that's what makes people suspicious about this business. I really do. I don't think you win. I don't think anybody is ahead of the game. And so all the people in my business who are patting themselves on the back for that decision, I think they're delusional. I don't think it puts us in any better. It's too late in the game to me at this point. I tend to think when a president speaks, you put him on, and you will have plenty of time to vet. But the idea in a free country, we're going to protect you because you're too stupid to understand or you don't understand the nuance of this. I just don't think you ever win. And as Smirkanish says, been elected twice. And to pretend at this late date that somehow this is an important journalistic distinction to make, I don't know where you are on that, but I'm always more a believer in it feels like you're trying to do some form of suppression. And I get how damaging the president has been on this issue. I've got another soundbite, another observation on this issue that we're going to get into tomorrow that I think perfectly illustrates the amount of damage this president has done when it comes to election integrity. More than any foreign bad guy that we talk about, more than China, Russia, etc. But I play it. I play it and get on it. And the idea that somehow you've created some meaningful distinction by this approach, not if he's the president of the United States, whatever you might think of him. Let's come back, wrap things up, remind you what we have coming up on a very busy program tomorrow and what you might have missed earlier today.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center. This report is sponsored by...
...with soccer analyst Jamie Watson, who I think largely agreed with the ESPN panel. He named them folks who just kind of eviscerated the championship game. Not so much the game itself, but what Argentina did to disgrace it. Argentina had been a great story until the end, quite frankly, and the way it played during and the way it conducted itself after, an embarrassing finish to what had been up until then a magical run. The good news is the right team won under those, especially under those conditions when it looked like that might be in jeopardy with just the 1-0 advantage.
I need to go back and listen to that ESPN rant again.
Yes.
The commentators all said hilarious things just about how bad it was.
Yes.
Did one of them say, like, make a mess in the bucket? Like, I feel like we need to add that. It was something about something in the bucket.
Oh, is that like an expression?
It must be.
Yeah, let's do some exploration.
Yeah,
that could
we got to do some There's some good ones that we could use.
You might be right. That's not a bad idea. Jamie joined us at 3:15 till about 3:45. Jonny Athletic from 5:30, basically acknowledging maybe LeBron James scooped him, but he said, well, yeah, he should be able to because he talked directly to the source.
You mean Ant, yeah.
What did I say?
You said LeBron.
LeBron, yeah.
Ant to LeBron.
On LeBron, or to LeBron, exactly right. A lot of World Cup early, some Vikings in the middle, believe it or not, as we are going to start. Yeah, we're going to start ramping the thing up. Maybe even bring Seifert back tomorrow. We'll see. What else we have in the hopper tomorrow? Luigi's still getting another week off.
Probably, yeah.
I think there's nothing that seems seemingly going on there. What else do we usually have on Tuesdays?
That's it right now. It's usually Seifer and Louie.
Well, we got a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to discuss.
Maybe Mike Hurley, you said?
Mike Hurley, maybe, yeah, because it looks like things are ramping up in the Middle East yet again.
It's frustrating.
And what was the other thing we got in? Oh, we got into some mall talk today. And I just was hoping, I was like waxing nostalgic for the days my ex-newspaper covered breaking spot news in real time. Something now they've apparently abdicated, at least on short notice, to the TV stations, who all have had website stories on shootings here over the weekend that my former paper almost made it seem like, well, we're a magazine, we'll get to it eventually. And they did, but it's supposed to be, I thought, in real time. Newspaper, even though you say, well, is that really what they want to call themselves at this point? Sadly, maybe not. But that would be an unfortunate chain of events for sure. Tonight is Fan on the Man in the Air, and then is it Dan Patrick?
Yeah, and then Lynx late night.
Oh, is that right?
In Seattle. Yeah, Lynx in Seattle late night.
Interesting. Could tonight be the night for Collier? Is it possible that that's the way they're going to do it? They're just going to spring it on us that way?
You know, I didn't look at the injury report for today. They've got 2 more games against Seattle, then the All-Star break. I think they're just going to wait until the break.
Then. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's what it's got to be. And that might make some sense. That's exactly what might make some sense. Yeah, we still got a lot of people, man, who just don't understand. A lie can travel halfway around the world before the truth can even get its pants on. Have you, 651 guy, have you missed the last 10 years? I just don't know what to tell you. The idea that by playing back what he says afterwards, that's still the lie. The idea that there's some meaningful distinction, I'm not here to protect people. That's what makes people suspicious. Vet the hell out of it. Hold him accountable for all